How we doing, everybody? It is Matt Modi on my own solo YouTube channel, Jedi Modi Sports Betting. Appreciate everybody who is joining. In this video, I am going to teach you how to use OddsJam. Pretty simple. I'm just going to be giving you a tutorial of everything that OddsJam has to offer, teaching you how to use OddsJam, how to use the different tools and everything like that. So obviously we'll be sharing my screen and going through everything. I will say before I get into it, again, I appreciate those of you that are tuning in. If you are and you have not yet done so already, please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Going to be coming out with a ton of different type of content like this. So definitely make sure to subscribe. And then of course, for this specific video, if you could comment, that would help out a ton. And then also, if you want to find me specifically on the social medias, you can at my Twitter handle that you see on the screen here at Jedi Modi. And we can get right into it. So I'm going to start off talking about the positive expected value page. This is the page that I spend my majority amount of time on when I am using OddsJam. It's how I've made the majority of the profits I've had, specifically with the positive EV page. And then I'll kind of go from there. So I'm going to start with the positive EV page and then get into the bet tracker. But positive expected value. Now, I'm not going to go into a ton about what positive expected value means and why it's so profitable. So I will say, if you want to learn more just about like the concept behind positive expected value, I recommend checking out the first two videos that I have on this YouTube channel. Honestly, a lot of the YouTube videos on this YouTube channel, I detail positive expected value betting. All you need to know is that positive expected value betting, the positive EV tool, I should say, provides you with betting opportunities that have an edge, that have a mathematically calculated edge over the sportsbook you are placing the bet with. So you go to oddsjam.com, you go to tools, you go to positive EV, and it pulls up every single bet that qualifies. So with the positive EV tool, there's a ton of different things that you can do. Number one is these recommended filters. So if you're first starting off using OddsJam, there's a couple, well, let me back up. The recommended filters only provides the best of the best positive EV bets in terms of the best markets in the best sports books, or the best bets that are outliers to the sharp sports books. So the way that these no vig odds are calculated, the odds are pulled from the sharpest sports books in the world. So anything that shows up on this page will be mathematically profitable. What the recommended filters does is it only takes bets that are clear outliers, big outliers, to the majority of those sharp sports books. So basically saying, if you're not using the recommended filters, a little bit of additional work is required to make sure you're placing the best of the best. The recommended filters, there is no additional research that we recommend doing. You can pretty much just hammer anything blindly, specifically from the recommended filters page. So if you're new to OddsJam, or if you don't have a ton of time on your hands and you just want to blindly hammer bets, I would recommend using the recommended filters. When I don't have a ton of time, when I am on my phone and I don't feel like looking into the markets a ton, that's when I personally, I myself, will use these recommended filters, because if you like click into a play, it's guaranteed to be an outlier from the majority of sports books as well as the sharp ones. Like this example right here, FanDuel has it at plus 196. The closest books are at plus 175, with Pinnacle being like 41 cents lower at plus 155. This is a clear outlier compared to every other book, which makes it A, a good bet in general, and B, why it showed up on the recommended filters. If you're looking at a bet that isn't on the recommended filters, it might not necessarily be an outlier to every single sharp sports book. Like, if we're looking at different plays. And then other things that do not show up on the recommended filters are specific markets. So there are certain markets or certain sports that have a little bit higher variance than others, and those will not show up on the recommended filters. So if you're trying, again, to reduce your variance, to do the least amount of work, essentially, if you just want to hammer bets, then I recommend using the recommended filters. But if you are not using the filters, if you do not have this button selected, there's a lot of different things that you can do to filter. And you can also save filters as well. So like if you have specific things you want to save, you can do that. Like you can filter by sportsbook. So right now, these are the sportsbooks that I currently have money in that I'm using. You can filter all of these sportsbooks any way you want. You can filter by sport, by league, by specific market. So main market, alternate market, player prop. You can filter by date. So if you just want to hammer bets today, you would click today. During football season, I would sometimes click custom date range, and I would only have bets highlighted specifically for NFL Sunday. You can do the same thing for college football on Saturday. You can also filter for a specific game. So if I wanted to look up bets for the New York Islanders game, I could just search that in here and only bets for the Islanders would show up. Then you can have minimum or maximum odds, and then you can filter by market width as well. So market width essentially calculates how tight the market is. Generally, you want them to be below a certain number. Like the recommended filters does a pretty good job at showing markets that have the tightest juice. Market width is just another way to calculate that. And then percentage is just the EV percent on the far left. So if you only want to bet something, let's pretend that's like 2% and above, you could just change the minimum percent to 2. And now it only shows bets that have EV percent above 2%. In terms of how these are calculated, these percents, it's basically just calculated based on the gap of the OddsJam perfect line, which is these no vig odds here, and then the sports book that you are betting. So the bigger the gap between these two numbers, between the no vig OddsJam perfect line and the odds of the book you're betting it at, the bigger this percent is going to be. It's a mathematical formula, but that's kind of how it is calculated. And that's kind of everything in terms of how to use the positive EV page. Again, there are a bunch of different strategies and stuff that will come out in a positive EV specific video. I just wanted to teach you how to use it. Okay, so that's the positive EV page. That's, again, how I've made the most money using OddsJam. The next thing that I'm going to want to talk to you about is the OddsJam Bet Tracker. If you ask me, I think that's the second most important thing that you can be doing. A, placing profitable bets. B, making sure you are tracking these profitable bets. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the OddsJam Bet Tracker. I will say there's a couple different things to note here. So there's two things. Number one, the way you add a bet to your bet tracker, you just click this plus button here. So I'm adding this soccer bet to my bet tracker. Click the plus button, put how much you bet, click save. You can either save and hide bet, which means it would not show up on the EV page. It would show up on these hidden bets here. The logic there being, if you don't want bets that you've already placed to show up on the EV page, that's why. Or you could just not save it and not hide it. But regardless, once you click the save button, it shows up on the OddsJam Bet Tracker here. But you can also sync some sports books with the OddsJam Bet Tracker as well. So OddsJam partnered with a company called Sharp Sports, which allows you to literally sync directly to your sports books. So instead of needing to click the plus button, it directly syncs with them. So as soon as you place a bet, you can click this button, sync bets here. That will just tell the OddsJam software to sync with your sports books. As you can tell here, Sharp Sports refresh initiated. And then it goes into each of the sports books that you have synced, and it just updates it. In terms of how to get your sports books added to be synced automatically, there's a couple different ways you can do it. Right now, I am at the bet tracker itself. So just oddsjam.com, bet tracker, and then once more, bet tracker. You just click this button, manage sportsbooks. So these are currently all the sportsbooks that I currently have linked. But if you want to link a book, you just click this button here, link new book, and you select your state, you select the sportsbook. You have to actually enter in your betting, your login information, and then it will sync. And that's how that works. So I mentioned that when you're betting positive EV, right, you want to get positive expected value means you are getting better odds than the no vig odds here. That is what makes it positive expected value. Well, an unfortunate reality of sports betting is that odds are constantly changing. And there is a scenario in which you place a bet and the odds unfortunately move against you and is no longer positive expected value. So pretend the no vig odds that are, as I am currently recording this, priced at plus 185 could move up to plus 200. That would be negative expected value. So when you're using the OddsJam Bet Tracker, it literally tells you when bets are no longer positive expected value. It's red. which means worse than the closing line. If it's green, that means you're getting better odds than the closing line. So what I like to do is kind of scroll through my bet tracker and see what bets are no longer positive expected value and see if I can cash out of them. So that's kind of a strategy of when should you cash out a bet? Essentially when it's no longer positive expected value, but only really if you can get a full refund is my personal preference there. But the more green, the better. That's how the bet tracker works. If it's green, you're getting better odds than the OddsJam perfect line. And as long as you're doing that more often than not, it's something that will be profitable. But OddsJam recently made a bunch of different updates to the OddsJam bet tracker. Number one, which I love, they added this sweat station. So the way the sweat station works is it tells you all your bets that are live, and it literally gives you live updates on how your bets are going. So right now, as I'm recording this, I have the under in the Flyers versus Flames. Guess what? One goal has been scored, so it tells me where I'm at, and it's constantly refreshing to make sure that it's getting the most up-to-date odds. So you can use the sweat station to do exactly what it sounds like and sweat out your bets. Also, the sweat station, what it does, and you can do this on the dashboard as well, which I will click into now, you can see your history, right? I'm recording this February 20th, currently down 40 bucks, assuming that's obviously not gonna stay at 40, gonna go up, hopefully, or down, not hopefully. You can look at how things have gone for the month. So February, some ups, some downs. I'm in the green, which is good, but actually this is a pretty bad month, all things considered. Like if you want to look at January, January was amazing, right? A lot more green, a lot less down days, and I'm up a lot more. But this is information that the bet tracker will, if you're adding bets to the bet tracker, will automatically give you. It can also, if you scroll down a little bit, will give you a ton of different information about your betting history, total profit, total risk, the amount that you have pending, possible potential payout. And it gives you like kind of the information of what this stuff means. Percent you beat the closing line, your average ROI, and then all these different graphs, profit over time, by sportsbook, by sport, CLV by sportsbook, profit by league, by bet type, pretty much any type of information that you could possibly want is given to you on the OddsJam bet tracker. Just have to make sure that you either manually or automatically add it, and there you have it. And one thing you can also do is make your account public. So my account is public. So in the link or in the description and in the comments of this video, you can actually look at my bet tracker. It's all completely public. Verified bets are only bets that have actually been synced with the sports books themselves, or actually that you have been synced with the sports book. So basically saying you can't fudge these numbers. It syncs directly with the sports books. You can have it be specifically for that. CLV notifications is kind of like what I talked about. If a bet that you placed is no longer positive expected value, you could actually get notified either via phone or by email or by text. That's what CLV notifications means. And that's how the bet tracker works, right? You want to make sure you're tracking your bets, and the reason why I'm moving the camera, but you want to make sure you're tracking your bets. You want to understand your CLV percentage, and all this different information is very, very important. But another thing that you can do using OddsJam is change your settings. So in the top right here, this is your initial. You click that, you click profile, and it brings you to all of your different information. So you could manage your subscription, manage consensus lines. This is for the screen, which we'll talk about. If you subscribe to our picks plan, you can do that. You can update your information here. But what I wanted to talk about are these filters right here. So you can obviously filter specifically on the EV page, but you can also change your filters in your settings here. So basically, here is where you can exclude sportsbooks that you don't want to show up. So like if I click this button here, I want to make sure that all these sportsbooks do not show up when I'm looking at odds. It just makes it a little less cluttered if you have these things filtered out. So if you want to filter out certain sportsbooks to never show up, you do that here. This is also where you can update your bankroll. Your bankroll is just the amount of money that you have dedicated to sports betting. And then the multiplier. This is kind of confusing. It's the Kelly criterion method. All you need to know here is that best practices is to have this number between 0.25 and 0.5. Basically, if you want to risk more of your bankroll, a higher percent of your bankroll per bet, you should have this at 0.5. If you want to risk a lower amount, you should have it at 0.25. But that's what the Kelly multiplier means. And then you can update like betting tool notifications so you can get notified specifically if you have a saved filter. If a positive EV bet shows up specifically for a saved filter, that's what that means. And you can also get notified for injuries as well if you want to be emailed when injuries happen in sports. But that's how you update your settings. That stuff is obviously very important because you need to understand exactly that, how to update your settings. That stuff is important. A couple other things real quick to go over. Resources, ton of different betting education stuff. So if you want to learn about a specific topic, you can either search it in the search bar right here. Just click this button and search. You can search it there, or you can look for it in the Betting Education Hub. If you're new, I would recommend starting exactly where we are, the Getting Started Guide. That's where I would recommend starting. So that's your settings. That's the positive EV tool. That's the bet tracker. There's a ton of other tools that OddsJam has. I'm not going to spend as much time on them, but I will go through them. Arbitrage is when you can bet both sides of a line and be profitable. So here's an example. Player goals. Brock Nelson over or under 0.5 goals. One of these things will happen. He's either going to go over or he's going to go under. And the way the odds work, I could actually place a bet on both sides, on the over and the under, to guarantee a profit, right? We see the over is priced at plus 190. The under is priced at minus 175. That's an arbitrage opportunity. If you want to know, the edge, this is how much I will make. So $1.88 per 100 bucks risked. So if you click this calculator here and you say, okay, I want to risk 100 bucks on the over 0.5, that means I should risk, it's telling you exactly how much you should risk on the other side to guarantee a profit of 1.88%, which in this case is $5.45. So if you're positive EV betting, variance is an unfortunate reality of positive expected value betting. You know where variance is not an option at all, it's not a possibility, is with arbitrage. So we have a ton of users that don't want to deal with the ups and downs of positive EV betting. Like if you look at my bet tracker, you'll see, some really bad days. You don't have to deal with that if you're arbitrage betting. That's the appeal of it. You're betting on both sides and a profit is guaranteed. The boosts page is exactly what it sounds like. It tells you every single boost that sportsbooks are offering. So if you want to just see them all on one page, okay, what's being boosted? You can do that here on the boost page. That's pretty simple. The free bet converter. So this is when you have a free bet with the sportsbook. So if you're signing up with sportsbooks, you see the options, risk-free bet, all that stuff. This is when you already have a free bet and you want to convert that free bet to cash. So depending on the book you have the free bet on, you can filter it specifically here. So like, let's pretend I have the free bet on FanDuel, This page will literally give me examples where I can use my free bet on FanDuel. It'll tell you, okay, this is where you place your free bet. All these are on FanDuel. And then you place the other side of the bet on another sportsbook, and you can convert it up to a certain percent in cash. So in this case, I'm converting my FanDuel bet with Caesars, and I'm converting that into roughly 72% of what my free bet is worth. That's how the free bet converter works. Low holds. So low holds is when you can bet both sides of a line to possibly guarantee that you will not lose money. So like a 0% hold is when you can bet both sides to break even. You might ask yourself, why would I ever want to do this? Let's pretend you have a sportsbook that is offering you some sort of cash bonus based on how much money risked. Hey, if you play through $10,000 or $1,000, we'll give you a free $100. So what you could do is use the low holds page, again, the sportsbook that you specifically have the low hold with, and you can literally bet both sides of the line to essentially break even. And that way you're just converting, you're playing through that rollover bonus. You're playing through that minimum that they're making you bet. So $1,000 to have 100 or whatever. Another reason why people use the low holds page is to get into different tiers. So these sports books have different rewards programs and stuff. It's like, oh, I'm $2,000 away, and then I can get to the platinum level on Caesars. Well, just go to the low holds page, place the $2,000 bet on Caesars, place the other side on the other book, lose no money, but go to that higher status. It's a way essentially to play through when you have different bonuses. So that's how the low hold page works. The middles page. So the middles page is essentially when you can place both sides of the bet and possibly win both. Like this example, we're betting on Aston Villa plus 6.5 and Everton minus 5.5. If Everton wins by exactly 6, you will have won both of those bets. So it's obviously risky because in this case, you're not guaranteeing a profit. You're guaranteeing if they don't win by exactly 6, which is not likely, you're not winning your bet or the middle, but you can filter it. So you can filter by minimum percentage 0. So I'm only going to do it if I'm gaining a profit. You can also do by maximum odds. So like, you know what? I don't want to bet on a middle like that one that was minus 10,000 one way. Here's an example: over 142, under 142.5. If it lands at exactly 142, then your over pushes, your under wins, and you placed both sides of the bet, but you did not lose. You did not lose even one of the bets. You pushed one and you won one. That's how the middle page works. Next up, we have the Parlay Builder. So the Parlay Builder is exactly what it sounds like. It builds a parlay for you. You select the sports book that you have that you want to place the parlay on. If it's for a specific sport, you would select that here. Like if I have an NBA one, I would type that in here. Then I would type in like, what are the minimum odds? Is it same game? Is it boosted? You click that button and then it shows you the parlay. Right now I'm recording this during the All-Star break, so it's giving me a parlay for the games on Monday. But here are a bunch of profitable bets that I have been given thanks to the Parlay Builder on OddsJam. And then I already talked about the positive EV page. So that's every single betting tool that OddsJam has to offer. Obviously, the positive EV page is the most important one. That's where, again, it's where I spend the most of my time, how I've made the most money. Then I talked about the bet tracker. You want to make sure that you're tracking your bets. I walked through all of the different tools that OddsJam can use and how to update your settings. Now, the last tool of OddsJam that I want to talk about is the OddsJam Screen. So the way the OddsJam Screen works is you pick a sport, a market, and then it pulls up where every single sportsbook is pricing odds for that market. So you immediately can use the OddsJam Screen to identify outliers. Like, okay, where does one sportsbook have a mispriced line compared to every other book? It's a really easy way to line shop. Like if, on the games start in 3 days from now when I'm recording this, I know I want to bet on the Sixers. Well, now I can use the screen to get the best odds. I can get them at minus 165. I personally love to use the screen for player props because you can find discrepancies amongst the sports books of what they actually have lines priced at. Like for basketball, you can go to player points. You can look at a player and say, okay, Joel Embiid, FanDuel has his over under at 29.5. Every other book has it at 30.5. Well, that 29.5 is a mispriced line. It's another way of finding profitable bets by just pulling up everything on one screen, and then you can just line shop from there across an entire slate. That's how the screen works. I love using it for DFS, for player props, and stuff like that. And that's going to be it. That is my brief walkthrough of how to use OddsJam. Now, I will say moving forward, I'm going to have an individual video for pretty much every single one of the tools that I talked about. So if you want a deeper dive on like strategies of how to use the tool and stuff, make sure to subscribe and get that information moving forward. For this one, I just wanted to have a brief tutorial of just blanketly how to use OddsJam. So this video was helpful. Please comment and let me know. Like I said, comment, like, subscribe, helps me out a ton. Follow me on social media at my Twitter handle, again, Jedi Modai, and that's it. So thank you everybody for watching and have a good one.